If you ever see a folder appear on your computer that isn't yours, don't click it. That's the first rule I wish I'd known before this all started. I was sitting at my desk, late at night, scrolling through files like any normal insomniac might, when my screen flickered, just for a second. Nothing unusual, just a hiccup in the graphics card, I thought. Then I saw it. A folder, unmarked, no name, no icon, just a blank rectangle sitting neatly on my desktop. I hadn't created it. I hadn't downloaded anything. I hadn't even been near this directory in weeks. My hand froze over the mouse. My cursor hovered above it, and I felt that tiny pulse of fear that makes your stomach tighten, your throat dry, your whole body insist that you don't move. I told myself it was a glitch, some virus maybe, something mundane, harmless. But the second I hovered over it, the folder opened itself. No double click, no touch, it simply unfolded. Inside there were files, hundreds of them, images, documents, videos, things that should have been impossible. I clicked one file out of curiosity, and it opened instantly. The image that greeted me was my room. Not from a webcam feed, not from the angles I knew. This was a photograph taken from somewhere else, somewhere I couldn't possibly have imagined. My desk, my chair, my open laptop, everything exactly as it was right now. A text file opened next, and the words made my fingers tremble. You weren't supposed to see this. It was typed in a font I didn't recognize, the letters slightly jagged, almost as if they had been scratched into the screen itself. I wanted to close everything. I wanted to shut my laptop and pretend it never happened, but I couldn't. The files kept opening on their own, switching, shuffling like some invisible hand was moving through my desktop. I tried to pull my cursor away, but it was like the computer itself had a mind. My phone buzzed with a notification. No message, just an alert. We're watching. My heart jumped into my throat. I laughed nervously, trying to convince myself it was a coincidence. Maybe it was a prank, some sophisticated malware. And yet, something about the way the folder seemed alive, aware, made me feel small, vulnerable, exposed. I realized then that this wasn't just a computer glitch. This was something else, something that had been waiting. By the time I understood what the files truly meant, it was already too late. There's no going back from a folder like this, only forward. I took a shaky breath and whispered to myself, trying to regain control of my racing thoughts. I should start at the beginning. I guess I should explain who I am, or at least how I spent most of my nights before everything went sideways. I'm not some tech genius or hacker. I'm just me, a student, mostly awake at 2 or 3 a.m., fueled by too much caffeine and an unhealthy curiosity for things I probably shouldn't touch. Some nights it's gaming marathons, other nights it's reading forums that make the rest of the internet look like Sesame Street. It's like a treasure hunt, but instead of gold, you find creepy screenshots, glitchy videos, and stories that make you look over your shoulder. Most of the time, it's harmless. Mostly. I'll admit, I like a little thrill. There's something about clicking links you're not supposed to touch, watching the source code of a page, trying to figure out why it exists at all. The thrill of discovery, the rush of knowing you've seen something almost nobody else has. That's what kept me scrolling, late into the night, headphones on, ignoring the fact that my house was completely silent, except for the hum of my computer. Of course, I joke about it now, but back then I thought I was just being bored, just being curious. I had no idea that curiosity could almost cost me my life. Sometimes I'd stumble onto old forums where users posted bizarre screenshots or cryptic messages, half joking, half serious.
people disappearing after posting, strange warnings, tales of malware that acted like it was alive. I laughed at those posts, I really did. Yeah, sure, buddy, I'd think, taking another sip of cold coffee. And then, one night, just like every other night, I opened my laptop, ready for another round of aimless exploration, and that's when it happened. The folder appeared, silent, blank, waiting. And I realized in a heartbeat that this wasn't one of the stories I'd read online. This wasn't some harmless little corner of the internet. This was something entirely different. I leaned back, blinking at the screen. My curiosity, my little thrill-seeking habit, it had led me here. I had crossed the line without even knowing it. It wasn't like the folder just blinked into existence with a neon warning or an ominous sound. No, it was subtle, almost polite, sitting there among my normal files like it belonged. But the more I stared at it, the more wrong it felt. There was no name, no icon, just a blank rectangle, perfectly aligned with the other folders on my desktop. My gut tightened, a quiet alarm bell ringing somewhere deep inside me. Curiosity is a dangerous thing, though, especially when it's fueled by boredom and the thrill of the unknown. I hovered over it with the mouse, noting the tiny details that shouldn't exist. Right-click revealed options I'd never seen on a normal folder. Permissions, system reserved, owner unknown, and even the creation date, set years in the future. My first thought was a prank or some bizarre bug, but I had no one to blame, no software I'd installed that could do this. Nothing made sense. I tried to open it, expecting an error or a crash. Instead, the folder opened instantly, revealing a collection of files that looked like nothing I'd ever seen. Their names were encrypted, strings of letters and numbers that formed no pattern I recognized. Some had symbols, glyphs that seemed almost alive on the screen when I blinked. Previews flickered over the thumbnails, showing shapes and shadows that felt wrong, like peering through a window that wasn't meant to exist. I hesitated. Every rational thought screamed to close it, to unplug my laptop and burn it, maybe. But there was a compulsion in me, a need to see just one file, to understand what this was. My hand moved before my mind caught up, double-clicking on a file labeled D8F42X protocol. The screen went black for a second, then an image appeared that made my stomach drop. The file wasn't just data. It was a message. The first thing I noticed was a photograph. My room. My desk. The lamp I had left on. The screen in front of me. Every detail matched perfectly. But the angle, oh God, the angle was wrong. The camera should not have been able to capture this perspective. My chair, slightly turned, the mug I had left on the corner of my desk, all perfectly visible, as if someone or something had been watching me. I closed it immediately, heart hammering. My rational mind insisted it was a glitch, some weird combination of cached images or a failed file recovery program. Yet, even as I tried to shake the unease, I couldn't ignore the next detail. The folder kept expanding. New files appeared at a rate that defied logic. Images, text documents, spreadsheets with headers I couldn't read, videos labeled only with dates that hadn't happened yet. One document opened itself, scrolling rapidly through a list of names, usernames, and partial addresses. My own username appeared, my apartment complex, my city. I blinked, unable to comprehend how it had even been recorded. I wasn't supposed to know these things yet, and clearly the folder wasn't supposed to exist at all. Every click I made seemed to trigger something else. A new window opened. A text file scrolled past with words that twisted my stomach. You shouldn't be here. You aren't ready for this knowledge. I shivered, leaning back in my chair, my hands trembling slightly over the keyboard. It was one thing to find creepy files online. It was another to see them adapt to your presence, to react. I tried to drag the folder to the trash, but it resisted. My system refused the action, alerting me with an error I'd never encountered. Operation denied. Target locked. My mouse shook. I stared at the screen as if willing the folder to disappear, willing my PC to return to the ordinary, harmless device it had been moments ago. But it didn't. It sat there, patient, waiting, watching, a silent predator hidden in plain sight. Previews teased things I couldn't describe. Shadows of images blurred into motion, text fragments hinting at actions and events that were impossible. Some files looked like documents from my own life, letters I'd never written, screenshots from accounts I hadn't accessed yet. Each one was a tiny escalation of dread, a whisper that I was already in too deep. And then I saw it. One file, marked only by a single glyph, seemed to pulse faintly on the screen, almost like a heartbeat. The cursor moved of its own accord, hovering over it. My fingers hovered, frozen by fear and compulsion, knowing that opening it would cross a line from which I might never return. I swallowed hard. The room felt colder, the hum of the computer louder, my own breath shallow. I told myself I had to know. I couldn't turn away. My curiosity, my obsession with hidden corners and forbidden knowledge had finally delivered its consequence. With a trembling hand, I clicked the file. And just like that, the folder knew I wasn't just a passerby. It had noticed me. The first thing I saw made my blood run cold. It was a photograph, but not like any photograph I had ever taken. My room, my desk, the lamp I had left on, the screen in front of me. Everything was exactly where it was now, at this very moment, yet the angle, oh God, the angle was impossible. It was as if someone or something was standing in the air, somewhere behind my window, looking straight in, capturing a view I could not have imagined.
I leaned back in my chair, trying to convince myself it was a camera glitch, a mirror reflection, some technical anomaly. It's just a fluke, I muttered to myself, though the tremor in my voice betrayed my doubt. I clicked to close the image, but before I could, a new file opened on its own. A video this time. Nothing but static for a few seconds, and then movement. A shadow crossing my room. My desk chair rocking slightly, though no one had been there. My laptop screen flickering. It felt like I was watching my own apartment in real time, but from somewhere I had never been. I gasped, my heart hammering. My fingers hovered over the mouse, shaking. Then text scrolled across the video in a jagged, almost handwritten font. You shouldn't have opened me. You shouldn't exist in this timeline. I blinked. My eyes darted around my room. My door was closed, my windows locked. Nothing should have been there, nothing should have moved. And yet, the words on the screen weren't just warnings, they were specific, intimate, and impossibly personal. A document opened next, and my stomach sank. It contained instructions, not normal instructions, but instructions for me, things only I could know. The arrangement of my furniture, the number of books on my shelf, even the exact time I usually left my apartment to walk to the store. My username was referenced repeatedly. I read the lines aloud, half in disbelief, half in horror. What the hell? How do you know this? I whispered, voice cracking. Of course, no one answered. No one could. And yet the sense of being watched was overwhelming. Like a pressure behind my eyes, a heat on the back of my neck. The files weren't just content. They were aware, reacting, waiting. Some files were images I couldn't describe here. Shapes and faces, blurred just enough to be recognizable, yet alien. Texts with words that made no sense, but somehow I understood their meaning.
The more I looked, the more impossible it felt, as if the digital world had intersected with my reality in a way I could neither control nor comprehend. Every time I thought I could close a file, another one opened, each one more personal, more invasive than the last. It wasn't long before the files stopped being abstract threats. They began referencing my real name, my email, my accounts. Small details at first, a username here, a comment I had left months ago there, but gradually larger, undeniable signs that this wasn't just a random intrusion. I couldn't escape the feeling that the folder was studying me, learning me, mapping me. It wasn't just on my PC anymore. It was inside my awareness, burrowing into the parts of my life I'd never shared online. Every blinking cursor, every flicker of the screen reminded me that the line between reality and this digital nightmare was disappearing. I backed away from the desk for a moment, my hands shaking. My laptop hummed softly, innocently, as if mocking my fear. But I knew better. I had glimpsed the first file, and that glimpse had already claimed a part of me. There was no going back. The next files opened themselves, each one escalating the dread, each one bringing a level of intimacy I couldn't explain. By now it was clear. This folder wasn't just data, it was aware, and it knew me. At first, I thought it was random, just a folder filled with strange files, a digital ghost haunting my desktop. But then it started to get personal. A new document opened, titled with a string of letters that looked like gibberish at first. I glanced at it, expecting more cryptic nonsense, and froze. My email address, in plain text, not partial, not masked, not a random coincidence, my exact email. My heartbeat accelerated. I whispered to myself, "No, that's impossible." Another file opened immediately after. My social media handles. Every social media account I had ever logged into, every username I had ever used online since high school. I clicked on one file and it revealed a list of my recent messages, some even deleted months ago. Conversations I thought were private, conversations I had forgotten, were now laid bare in front of me. I slammed my hands against the desk, my mind racing. "Who? How? What is doing this?" I muttered, my voice shaking. I tried to rationalize it. A hack, some elaborate malware, maybe even a prank. But nothing added up. Hackers don't know your room layout, your daily routines, or your personal files without leaving traces. Yet here it was, all of it, displayed like a gallery of my life. A video file opened on its own, showing my profile picture, my friends, even snapshots of my messages. But the way the video was framed, it wasn't just a screenshot. It had movement, supple angles I had never seen. Someone or something had captured me, digitally, in a way that was both impossible and horrifying. I rubbed my eyes and whispered, "It knows me. And I haven't even opened it yet." My home, my safe space, suddenly felt exposed. Every shadow in the room suddenly fielded with fear. The folder was inside my house, aware of my digital life, even before I had glimpsed its contents. Seemed alive. Every creak of the floorboards, a possible intruder. My laptop hummed innocently, completely unaware, or perhaps fully aware, of the terror it had unleashed. Files continued to appear, subtle threats embedded in the text. "You shouldn't have logged in today. We've been watching your patterns. Some doors can't be closed once opened." I felt my chest tighten. Was this just the folder, or something behind it, something sentient that had been observing me long before tonight? I couldn't sit still. I walked around the apartment, checking locks, peering out windows, my eyes darting to every corner. My mind wouldn't stop racing, trying to rationalize the impossible. "Maybe it's a virus," I muttered. "Maybe it's just malware. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. Every file seemed to anticipate my actions. If I hesitated, another one would open, as if mocking my indecision. I noticed metadata embedded in some files, timestamps, IP addresses, even geolocation coordinates. They weren't random. They were mine. Someone or something had mapped me, traced me, and now it was communicating in the only way it could. I tried to close the folder, tried to drag it to the trash, tried to shut down my computer. Each time the system refused. Access denied. A small pop-up would mock me, the text jagged and unnatural. My hands shook as I muttered under my breath, "It's everywhere. It's in everything." By now, I wasn't just scared. I was panicking. The digital space I thought was mine, the one I had curated over years, had turned against me. It knew me intimately, more than anyone should, and I hadn't even taken the first step toward opening all of it. I leaned back in my chair, breathing hard, staring at the glowing screen that was no longer just a screen. It had become a window into my life, my mind, my secrets. And I realized whatever this was, it wasn't finished. I had no choice but to try to trace it, to find where it came from, to understand what had chosen me, and maybe, just maybe, find a way to survive. I tried to make sense of it, tried to understand where the folder had come from, how it had appeared on my computer, and why it seemed so alive. I opened metadata on the files, scrolling through creation dates, modification logs, and hidden tags. Every piece of data only deepened the mystery. Some files had timestamps from years in the future. Others were coded in ways I couldn't decipher. And every IP trace led to nothing. Empty servers, dead ends, black holes of digital space that shouldn't even exist. I turned to the dark web. If anything could explain this, it would be some obscure forum, some hidden thread where hackers or digital voyagers shared knowledge I wasn't supposed to have. I dug through onion sites, pasted file hashes into search engines designed to comb through forbidden networks, but every lead dissolved into static. Pages wouldn't load, accounts were deleted mid-login, and whispers of strange, targeted folders were scattered across fragmented posts. Some users claimed to have encountered sentient malware, digital entities that tracked victims across multiple devices. I laughed nervously. Of course I laughed, until I realized my own devices were beginning to act against me. My computer wasn't just a machine anymore. It was something else, something aware. As I opened one of the encrypted files to compare hashes, it suddenly renamed itself, not in a random string, but with my own username appended, my email. The device practically hummed under my fingers like it knew I was investigating. My heart hammered. I scrolled through server logs, trying to trace connections, but each attempt ended with contradictions. Locations shifted, as if the folder wasn't tied to any single place. Sometimes the files appeared to be hosted on servers in Europe. Other times the logs claimed the source was within my own building. I tapped at the keys in disbelief. This makes no sense. Some folders are never meant to be found. And yet, I couldn't stop. I couldn't walk away. Each dead end, each impossible contradiction only pulled me further in, fueled my need to understand, to find a solution. My home felt calm on the surface, the quiet hum of the apartment, the faint street noises outside, but underneath, terror was rising like a tide. Every shadow, every flicker of the screen, every vibration from my laptop made my skin crawl. Hours passed in a blur of research, screenshots, and frantic note-taking. And just when I thought I might be able to catalog something, anything, a file on my desktop started moving. Alone. I watched in horror as it slid across the screen, opening another document with my name on it. I didn't click. I couldn't. It opened itself. The message inside wasn't long, but it sank into me like ice water. Stop looking, or you'll regret it. My pulse raced. My hands shook. The folder wasn't just aware. It was reacting, communicating, manipulating me in ways I couldn't control.
I leaned back from the desk, trying to gather my thoughts, but the folder wasn't done. Another file opened. Another message appeared. And with each flicker of the screen, I felt the walls of my supposed safe space closing in. I realized then that this wasn't just about curiosity or research. I had stumbled into something that was meant to remain hidden. Some things aren't meant to be found, and some folders never forgive those who try. It started small, a pop-up window, the kind your computer normally gives you for updates or warnings, but the text was different. I see you. I blinked. No cursor movement, no typing, just those 3 words staring back at me. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling. This has to be a joke, some malware, someone messing with me. Another pop-up appeared instantly. You shouldn't have opened this. I stared at the screen, my mind racing, my voice barely a whisper. Who is this? What do you want? No answer, only the hum of my laptop. I tried typing into the window. Why me? Why my computer? The response came within seconds, letters forming themselves on the screen. We don't pick. The system does. A chill ran down my spine. The system? What system? I muttered, more to myself than the folder. The pop-ups continued, each one faster, more insistent. You should have left it alone. Curiosity has consequences. I've been watching. I leaned back in my chair, my hand shaking. Every instinct screamed at me to shut it down, unplug it, destroy it, anything. But when I tried to close the windows, they multiplied. The dialogue wasn't just text. It was alive, responsive, and somehow aware. Who are you? I typed desperately. Someone you'll never meet. Someone who sees everything. My pulse hammered in my ears. My apartment, once my sanctuary, now felt like a cage. The screen glowed ominously in the dark, casting shadows across the walls. Each flicker made me flinch. I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just software. It wasn't just a virus. It was a presence, an intelligence watching me, responding to me, feeding off my panic. I spoke aloud, almost pleading. What do you want from me? The reply appeared almost instantly. You opened what should have remained closed. Now you belong to it. Now you are being watched. My chest tightened. My thoughts raced. Was it tracking my keystrokes, my camera, my microphone, my entire life? I could feel the dread pressing down, suffocating. I looked at the screen and whispered, shaking. If anyone else has seen this, if anyone knows, I need to know, please. No answer came, only the flicker of the folder, pulsing faintly, as if it were alive and breathing. I realized then with a sinking heart that this was no longer a game of curiosity. This was surveillance, real, omnipresent, and I was the target. I thought I had seen everything the folder could throw at me, but then it proved something I couldn't ignore. A new file opened without warning. The title was a timestamp from just a few minutes ago. My stomach dropped when I clicked it. A photograph appeared. My room. Every detail exactly as it was at that moment. My desk, the chair slightly turned, the mug I had left on the edge, even the tiny stack of papers I had been ignoring. I froze. My fingers trembled over the keyboard. How could this be? My webcam was covered, the computer offline for hours earlier, and yet here it is. Someone or something had taken this photo moments ago, and it wasn't just static. The angle, it was wrong. My eyes darted to the ceiling, the corners of the room, searching for a vantage point that couldn't exist. I whispered, more to myself than anyone else, "It's not possible. It can't be." I wanted to look away, to close the file and pretend none of this was real, but my curiosity, my terror-driven need to understand, forced me to stare. The photograph showed a corner of the room I had never been able to see from my chair. A shadow of something, someone, loomed faintly in the background. I couldn't describe it here, not fully. Some things are better left unseen.
I scrolled through the file, half expecting it to end. It didn't. Every image was a new angle, a new detail of my life, captured without my knowledge. My heart raced, my pulse thundered in my ears. Was it hacking my webcam? Or was this something else entirely? Something beyond technology? Something alive? I whispered aloud, my voice shaking. This isn't just a folder anymore. The images weren't static. They flickered, almost like they were alive, reacting to my gaze. I backed away from the desk, the glow of the monitor casting long shadows across the room. My mind screamed that I needed to unplug it, destroy the files, anything to regain control. But even as I reached for the power cord, a new message appeared on the screen. "You can't leave. You're already part of this." Panic clawed at me. I felt trapped in my own home. Every familiar object, the lamp, the books, the posters on the wall, suddenly felt like evidence, proof that I was being watched. My safe space had become a cage. I realized then that the folder wasn't just data. It wasn't a passive file collection. It was sentient. It was aware. It was watching. And I wasn't imagining it. Every tick of the clock, every whisper of the air conditioning, every faint creak in the floorboards seemed amplified, as if confirming my worst fears. I stared at the glowing screen, trembling, as more images loaded. My reflection in the window, the stack of notes on my desk, the tiny cracks in the paint, each one captured perfectly. And I knew, with sinking certainty, that this was only the beginning. The folder had stepped out of the digital shadows and into my life. It was no longer just a folder. Panic overtook me. I couldn't just sit there while this folder invaded every corner of my life. I tried everything. First, I dragged it to the trash and emptied it. The folder reappeared immediately, perfectly intact, files blinking at me as if mocking my feeble attempt. I tried restarting the computer, holding the power button until the screen went black. But the moment it rebooted, the folder was back, right where it had always been. I grabbed a hammer from the drawer and swung at the laptop. The screen cracked, sparks flew. But when I plugged it into another device to check, the folder was there, glowing innocently, perfectly unharmed. My Wi-Fi went next. I pulled the plug from the wall, severed every connection. Nothing. The files continued to appear on my phone, my tablet, even on my smart TV. It was everywhere. I sank into the chair, my hands trembling. Human action felt powerless, irrelevant.
I had done everything a person could do to escape, and yet the folder refused to be denied. It wasn't just software. It was something that transcended my understanding of the digital world. A thought clawed its way into my mind, cold and insistent. The stories I'd half believed, the legends on obscure forums about sentient folders, cursed files, and targets that could never be freed, they were real. The folder didn't choose randomly. It chose carefully, deliberately, and once chosen, escape was impossible. I whispered to myself, barely audible, It picks you, and it never lets go. I tried everything, deleting, unplugging, smashing, fleeing, but the folder was patient. It had already claimed me. My life had become entangled with its existence, and there was no undoing it. Then, out of desperation, I noticed something I hadn't before. A faint, hidden network on my device. It wasn't my Wi-Fi, not my LAN. Something else, a small signal, barely detectable, pulsing like a heartbeat. And alongside it, a link to a forum I had never seen, hidden deep within the network. Curiosity gnawed at me. Even now in my terror, I knew I had to see. I had to know. Whatever this folder was, it wasn't just data. It was a system, a network, a world I had stumbled into, and perhaps the only way to survive was to dive even deeper. Desperation drove me to click the link. The forum loaded slowly, like it didn't want to exist on my screen, and yet there it was. The home page was sparse, no flashy banners, no ads, just a list of threads titled with usernames, timestamps, and a single word next to each, Target. I scrolled, my eyes widening with every post. Stories of people who had stumbled upon files like mine, who had tried to delete them, destroy them, unplug devices, only to vanish. One post simply read, "I thought I could close it. Then I woke up somewhere else, never again." Another, "Don't ignore it. Don't log off. Don't try to fight it. It waits." Some users posted dialogue fragments, desperate pleas.
Please, someone tell me what to do. You can't escape. It's already inside. Don't trust the screen. Don't. Then the post went silent. No reply, no update. Just gone. I felt my pulse quicken. Every comment, every warning, every incomplete story only confirmed what I feared. The folder wasn't just a threat, it was an unstoppable force, and it had already marked me. One thread caught my eye. A user named Silent Observer 87 claimed to have survived long enough to offer guidance. Their post was cryptic, barely more than a whisper. There's a way, maybe, but you have to follow the rules partially. Never open the second file. Wait for the moment the folder pauses. Use something it cannot track. The message abruptly ended. Nothing more. No signature, no update, just a digital echo of advice half given. I stared at the screen, trembling. Could I trust it? Could I even attempt something so vague, so uncertain with my life on the line? And yet, what choice did I have? I copied the fragment into a notepad, reading it over and over, trying to extract meaning. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Could I find the moment the folder pauses? Could I discover the something it cannot track? Somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew that hesitation could be fatal. But there was also a glimmer of hope in the broken advice. If one person had survived long enough to type it, maybe, just maybe, I could do the same. I leaned back, closing my eyes for a moment, and muttered, "Okay, I'll try. I have to try." The screen flickered, and I realized the folder wasn't idle. It had noticed my activity, my research, my reading of this hidden forum. Every second I delayed, it was learning, adapting. The only way forward was to apply the advice. Fragmented, incomplete, uncertain, but my only option. I should have stopped. I should have shut down, unplugged, thrown the laptop out the window. But I couldn't. I needed to know. And that was the mistake. The folder escalated. Files appeared that weren't just digital. They were warnings. Photos of my front door taken from angles I could possibly not see. Videos of my living room with objects slightly out of place. A note on my desk that I didn't leave, captured perfectly in a new image. My pulse thundered in my ears. Every notification felt like a hammer blow. Each one brought a new file, a new message. Stop looking, or you'll regret it. We're closer than you think. Do you feel it watching? I did. Every sound in my apartment, the hum of the refrigerator, the creak of the floorboards, was amplified into a threat. I jumped at shadows. I flinched at reflections. I couldn't trust my own eyes. I paced the room, my fingers gripping the edges of tables, chairs, anything solid. My laptop glowed in the dark, the folder pulsing like a heartbeat. Every time I glanced at it, I felt exposed, stripped bare. Every device in my apartment seemed to join in. My phone buzzed with unknown numbers. My tablet opened files I hadn't touched in months. Even my smartwatch vibrated, flashing warnings I couldn't interpret fast enough. I whispered to myself, over and over, "It's just files, it's just files, it's just files." But the reality of it refused to let me lie. Something beyond my understanding had invaded my life. It knew me, it saw me, it followed me, and now it was escalating. I tried talking out loud to reason with it. I'm just trying to fix this. I'll stop. Just leave me alone." No response, only the flicker of the folder on the screen. Then a video opened. My hands were shaking too much to move away. The video showed me, sitting here, pacing, whispering to myself. The terrifying part was that the footage was live, my every panic-stricken movement captured and displayed back to me. I fell to the floor, covering my face, hyperventilating. My apartment had become a prison, my devices, the bars, the folder, the warden. I could feel it pulsing, alive, waiting for me to slip, waiting for a mistake. Then came the whispers, digital, almost imperceptible, but clear enough to make my blood run cold. Words in my own voice, repeating phrases I had just muttered. "We're watching, we're watching, we're watching." My own paranoia had become reality. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen, pacing again, my eyes darting to every corner, every shadow, every reflection. Safe home, that was gone. My sanctuary was breached, violated by something that should not have existed, something that had transcended mere code.
My mind raced in stream of consciousness panic. I need to stop it. I need to delete it. No, don't touch it. It sees everything. Maybe unplug. Maybe burn the laptop. Maybe hide. Maybe run. Don't move. Don't breathe. Don't blink. It's watching. It's always watching. I'm never safe. I'm never alone. I'm doomed. And then I saw it. On the screen, in bright, jagged letters. Final countdown initiated. My chest tightened. Every instinct screamed at me. Every muscle coiled in terror. This wasn't just escalation anymore. This was the moment of ultimate tension, the precipice where curiosity, fear, and survival collided. I knew I had no time. Every second that ticked by brought me closer to whatever this thing, this intelligence had planned. My world, my home, my life teetered on the edge of an unknown fate. The screen pulsed. The folder awaited, and I realized with a bone-deep certainty that the final countdown had begun. I survived. At least,
for now. I won't tell you exactly how, not because I can't, but because some knowledge is better left untouched. Some methods are dangerous in ways words cannot contain. The folder is gone from my devices, but I know it isn't gone forever. It waits, patient, observant. I can feel its presence lingering, like a shadow in the back of my mind. There are things I saw, things I learned that I can't share fully. But if you've ever stumbled upon a folder like this, a file that wasn't yours, a screen that seemed alive, comment below, share notes, compare experiences. Maybe together we can understand what it is, why it chooses, and who comes next. Because I'm not alone. There are others, countless others, each with their own story. Threads on hidden forums, posts half erased, warnings whispered in the dark corners of the internet. They all point to the same truth. This isn't just a random occurrence. It's a network, a system, a pattern, a force that selects its victims, studies them, and decides their fate. I've lived to tell this tale, but I can't promise anyone else the same luck. If you value your sanity, your security, your very life, remember this. The digital world is not always what it seems. Beneath the code, beneath the files, there are things watching, waiting, choosing. And so, a warning. Check your PC tonight. Every folder, every file, every corner of your device. Because some things, once discovered, don't easily let go. And some things are better left unseen.